Yeah, that good. All right, let's do it.
All right, folks, thanks for the patience. Tonight we have Blanton. He's talking about fishing creeks, flies and fish creeks, how to rig up, what to approach, how to approach the creeks. A lot of people in your fish creeks already, but we're gonna learn a lot about tying, prepping, rigging, and all the good stuff there. He's gonna start out with a little bit of fly tying. Appreciate the patience on the technical support category. We're not sure if anybody can see it, but we are recording, so we'll post it later on tonight, or we'll get it posted onto our YouTube channel. So fire away.
All right, we're gonna start this little pattern I came up with. We call it the killer bee. It's just a little imitation. It can be a small cicada, it could be a wasp, it could be a lot of things. It's a little skater. I like fishing skaters, especially in creeks. I think that little bit of low profile, it's easier to cast, and I think it attracts fish a little bit better, acts a little bit more like a wounded, dying off insect. So all I'm doing, I've got a little bit of peacock eye stub. I'm just gonna wrap up here towards the front. Stop a couple of hook eye links back. And I've got some pre-cut foam. See if we can get this in the picture here. It's just got a little nub on it. Tie it down. But I'm gonna spiral loosely back. And we'll cross hatch this body. Once we get back to the hook point, then we're gonna just cross hatch it back up. Gets a little bit of a segmented body on it. And we'll have something similar to that. We'll just trim this front off. Tie that down. And then I'm gonna take, if these are just yellow rubber legs that are still joined, the old school style. Tie those guys in right here. And I'm just gonna bring them around to the front. It just makes it easier to trim them later. These in. Sometimes they're a little tricky to get in. I'm gonna come back a little bit further on this body to get them set just right. Because I want them sitting right on the side of this foam. Then we'll take another piece. This is the double-decker foam. Sure what that was. This is a double-decker foam from where we go. There we go. It's just yellow and black. This one is from Simperfly. I want this setting roughly halfway, well, halfway back about right here. Actually, take that back. We got the wings. Getting the wing put in. This is just polypropylene yarn that I've taken off a rope, brushed it out with a dog brush. We're going to go roughly half the length of the body back, tie it in. This is predominantly just an indicator. Now we're going to get our first part of our foam up top. Just with a couple of wraps for a cover. We'll fold this back a little bit. Get the rest of our eye stub. We're gonna create a little bit of a head up towards the front. Come back towards the back of this foam a little bit, prop it up. And come forward. You wanna leave a little bit of space. So you can get this thing tied off. And then once you get a couple of wraps on there, if it'll catch it. Here. Get a couple of wraps, it'll sit up like that. What I like to do is pick this up and come underneath the foam. Get several good wraps. Help prop that foam up a little bit more. And then we'll finish this off. This is a very quick, easy little fly. It skates really well. You can fish this on a fluorocarbon leader if you wanted to. It's not going to sink. And the rubber legs, I want those rubber legs pretty long up front. In the back, we want to go roughly the length of the body. And then we'll pop them loose. And just kind of tease that out. But this is on an 8. I'll tie it down to a 10. I typically don't go to a 12 on it. The hook gap just isn't where I like it on a 12. And this is the Arex shrimp hook. It's the NS 156 shrimp hook. Let's see. Get this. It's traditional shrimp hook. It's a good solid wire. I use it typically because it's a little heavier wire and it will kill this fly a little bit better and let it skate like it needs to. This is a little long on my front. I'm gonna trim it off just a hair. But this thing's gonna sit pretty flat and the water's gonna sit low and skate right across, and you can even dead drift it. I like to dead drift them. They're fun. Get it right in the current, let it come right across, kind of a cross hatch and get killed. I've seen wakes coming after, and it fish this big, but it's throwing a wake to come kill it. So, I mean, if you can look at it, it could be a wasp, it could be a small cicada, especially this year when we got the 9 million cicadas they're going to hatch. And typically when I'm fishing creeks, yellow is a go-to color. I don't know why. Yellow is my go-to. I don't know if it's confident color in me, but yellow is typically my go-to. Something has some kind of yellow in it, whether it's fluorescent yellow or yellow legs or a yellow underbody, but typically yellow is something that I go with. So this one's a little, I call it the killer bee. It's a new little pattern that I've started working with. Got a little bit bigger pattern coming up. This one's my meat pop. And we've fished this and slate them with it, and it's a neat little pattern. Little sculpin pattern. It's a little more involved than the meat pop or than the killer bee. So this one's going to be on a Arex 650 size 2. You can go up to a 2/0 in this. I prefer to stay a little bit smaller. If you're fishing Western rivers, you can definitely go to a bigger one. This one is heavy. This is just a tungsten bead. I don't skimp on the flash on this fly at all. We go bright or go home on this one. So I'm gonna put this tungsten bead, it's gonna be roughly third of the way up the hook shank. We're gonna get our eyes on here. Bead is for weight, it's gonna let it sit flat. These eyes are gonna take it down, but it'll kind of tip it a little bit, jig it almost. But once you take this tungsten bead on here, it sits it flat on the bottom of the water so that the sculpins sit flat. When you're watching the sculpin in the water, they're on the bottom flat. So this guy is going to be pretty flat, and it's a chunk to cast. These are those little red, I got them from Danny. These are his little red lead eyes. This is the Flashaboo speckled in gold. I really like this one. It's gives a little bit of a model action look to it. It's not quite as bright and flashy, but it's still got a good bit of flash to it. I'm gonna take this down the hook shank just a little bit, go around the bend, just a hair, not a whole lot. And then we'll roll her over. This is peacock ripple ice. We're just gonna get a little bit more. In some low light conditions, this muted flash gives just enough. I feel like it gives just enough of a little push that can trigger some strikes. And then the good old Magnum olive rabbit strip. You can go the regular rabbit on this size 2. I just prefer the Magnum. It seems like it's just got a little bit more hair on it. We're just gonna poke it through. Couple of wraps behind it here. We'll get a couple of turns of slopping. It's gonna give it a little bit of a bulk to the body and act a little bit like gills. We got so many good slopping feathers here, it's hard to pick which one you want. Yeah. We'll do 2 in here. And I'm doing this is olive body, but I'm gonna do a little bit of a chartreuse barred slopping. What this is just for me to look at. I don't think it really matters for the fish, what they're looking for. But this is primarily for me to be able to spot it. And sometimes you got to get in here. That out of the way. Get in here and tie this, cinch this rabbit down a little bit. It can get a little unruly in here. Man. Turn that off a little bit. We don't need this whole giant slopping feather. But you want to get, you don't want the very, if the tips are thin and small, you don't want those tied in. You want a little bit of a bulk towards the back and get a little wider towards the front. And we're gonna go all the way up to this. We're just gonna wrap it. And it doesn't really matter. It's all gonna lay kind of crazy anyway. It's not gonna lay as pretty as hen will. And you can pull it back. But it's just gonna kind of get all up in your way up towards the front, but we'll catch it. Couple turns of thread up at the bead. Coming out. Pull this a little bit back. We've got kind of this giant mess of a fly we've got going on here. We want to pull this slopping down a little, kind of out of the way, and then come up and catch it up top. Across the top to kind of cap this as a back. Be sure to poke yourself with a hook a couple thousand times because that's a good way to make sure the hook's sharp. We want to make sure we got a good sharp hook point. And I'm going to go with just a wrap of black. This is the MFC bunny brush. I'm just going to kind of cover this bead with a wrap or two of it. Nothing crazy. It's mainly just to cover this shiny part of this bead. We'll get one wrap. Then we'll come in front. The fins are going to be Coq de Leon hen, saddle. They got a perfect little profile for pec fins on sculpin. They're going to take roughly that size. And it's going to look out of place. It's going to look a little weird when we first do this, just because they're massive. But you're going to set these guys right there. We're gonna put two on each side because if you lose one, you want to have a fin. You don't want to have a little Finding Nemo sculpin. What's that second one? Catch them both. We're just gonna wrap back over the top of them a little bit, pull them back just a hair to get them secure. And now you can take a little bit of your Zap-A-Gap or your brushable, whatever you got. Hit that with it, because you don't want those pulling out. Those, you want those to stick right there where you got them. I'm gonna take a little bit, because sculpting our model, a little bunny of the olive bunny brush. Just come in, catch it, tie it back. Don't catch those fins like that. Don't do what I just did. Catch your fins. We'll get a couple wraps. A bunny. Oh, that got me. A little bit of blood on the fly always helps. Where did I put mine? Find us we need to find a decent mallard flank in here, and sometimes it's hard to do. So I'm going with a little bit longer feathers on these, and you just need a wrap or two. Any stiff feather will work, but you just want something a little stiff here to get in here. Get you a couple wraps. It's mainly just another bar is all this is, but you want a couple of good wraps. One thing about mallard, it does not wrap how you want it to. It's not the easiest thing to wrap, but it will fold back like you need it to. So even if you get something ugly like this, I mean, that's kind of ugly. You can just come in here, pull it back, and it will fold back. And make your little bit of a collar that you need right there. I like to add a little rubber leg, just for the sheer enjoyment of bass love rubber legs. And anything in creeks love rubber legs. So I'm gonna take 4 of these rubber legs and put 2 on each side to make 4 on each side. We'll double them over. So all I'm gonna do is take them, fold them over. Set them where I want them. Take 2 more. Set them right where I want those. And then we'll just fold them back. And you can trim these now, trim them later. I'm gonna trim them now just to get them out of my way a little bit. And I'll probably come back and trim them a little bit later too. So we got that in. Now we're gonna go with a little more black. Just a wrap or 2. Probably just one. Here. Just gonna go one wrap of black. Secure that down. And I wouldn't recommend coming in with your good scissors and cutting this wire. Then we got our olive. And we're gonna go on front. We'll get in front of the eye on this. We'll jump over. Come under. Go back over. Get a wrap. Tie this off. Press this in. Flash just a little bit. So I can see. We'll come down. Let's clean it up a little bit. All I'm doing is cleaning it up a little. And then one more wrap of my black, wherever I put it. Black. Come in, get a good wrap, secure that in. Flip it down. And you can finish it off here. I like to get a little bit more color on it. Just a little bit more color. I like to see it. If you can't see your fly, you can't catch fish, right? I mean, I gotta go. You gotta do something. Y'all obviously have never seen me tie deer hair flies.
Trying to give us these steps to apply if possible.
Yeah.
Then on Sunday, Dave and I tried flies with one material.
And I've got 14 out.
Don't worry, we're only halfway through.
That's about right.
But this is a wicked pattern. He's got an adaptation for it and a crawdad too, and still one of our most popular flies. Really. And it's got a lot of. Of course, it's got a lot of working parts, so that's. But it is one tasty morsel.
There's a reason it's named the meat pop.
Yeah. And a helmet is a decent idea.
Yes. It is a chuck and duck.
Yeah. Keep those loops open. And high.
Do not throw with a 4-weight. You probably could throw this to the spinning rod. All right, so I've got little racing stripes up top. I just like them. I think they're cool.
Get up to Arkansas, just one more bring, because the white will go forward, the little red. They've had great feedback on this pattern up there. I know a lot of y'all do get up to those arcs, but this is one you want to take. Sure. Yeah, they have the Ozark small boot, which is native up there. Because all of it has these little chartreuse flags to it. And this is pretty much spot on.
The daily duck is fun.
Or brown trout, but both, yeah. And occasionally, confused stalker rainbow. Never know.
Well, what's it supposed to be?
Sculpin. So like a bottom. Sculpin is a bait fish, it doesn't have an air bladder, so they use their pectoral fins to control their depth, like wings. But they're one of the few fish that doesn't have an air bladder, so when they get flushed up into the current, they're vulnerable, because they can no longer, like, the predators, the smallmouth bass, or the brown trout, or the lowly stalker rainbow, even they have a chance at eating them, but a brown trout or a smallmouth bass knows that it is as good as this rib right here. In my head, I'm going to eat it. That's how that is. So if you're in Montana or anywhere, Wyoming or Colorado, if there's sculpin present, that is how you, if you want to catch a big trout any day of the year, good idea to use a sculpin.
So here, that's the finished product. I know it's involved. It is not it looks more difficult than it actually is to tie. There's just a lot of different techniques in it. But this is one that you do not want to throw on a small setup. That or take a doctor with you so you can pop stuff out. Material wise, it's not as expensive as what you'd think. The most expensive parts is the cake coming across the top, and that's strictly just what I wanted to do. Just to make it a little bit wider. And you'll see a lot of sculpin patterns that you buy in shops that are this wide. Sculpiners, they're wide. They got a big, fat, broad head, and this has got enough broadness across it to really, and it hides the hook shank, the hook point good. I really love fishing this fly. It does get a good movement on it. Yeah. You could throw this, I could throw it with the 2, you could throw with a 6.
Okay.
If you're comfortable casting big flies. If you're not, definitely throw with an 8.
Hold it over here, right, a little bit, so the camera can see it. There we go. Back.
So,
Nice.
but we'll pass that around and y'all can take a look at it. I promise the hook eye is there. It looks like it's not, but it is.
Sauce on that.
Yes. Dip it in Big Red. I hear that works real good too.
Yeah.
But those are 2 of my favorite freak patterns. Mainly because they're anywhere you fish, you're going to find some sort of skating insect, and you're going to find a sculpin of some type. So that's one reason that those are my go-tos. And you can fish, I've got some swimming patterns too. I've got, if you want to really